When a corrupt anti-Trump judge insulted Karoline Leavitt right in court, he thought he was untouchable. But just minutes later, when she struck back, the entire courtroom fell silent. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest updates. The Courtroom Showdown. That day, in a stifling federal courtroom, everything started as usual, until Judge Maxwell Carter stepped up to the bench, his face flushed with anger. "No coffee in my court," he barked at the clerk, startling the young woman. "Tell the defense team, 2 more minutes, and if they're not here, I'll hold them in contempt." The courtroom was packed with spectators, the air heavy. Maxwell Carter, a notorious Trump critic, was preparing to hear a case involving the Faith and Family Foundation, a conservative charity accused of financial fraud. Known for his harshness, especially toward anyone tied to the conservative side, today he was clearly in no mood. "Sir," the clerk timidly reported, "Press Secretary Leavitt has arrived to testify." Maxwell Carter's face darkened. "Oh, how special," he sneered, not bothering to hide his contempt. "Tell her this isn't the White House. Her title means nothing here." Karoline Leavitt walked in, confident and sharp, holding a thick stack of documents. She nodded to the court staff, but Maxwell Carter glared at her like a hawk, tapping his fingers impatiently on the desk. "Let me make this clear," he growled. "I am the law here. Got that, Miss Leavitt?" Leavitt's defiance. Karoline Leavitt stood tall in the middle of the courtroom, her gaze unwavering. Despite Judge Carter's arrogant declaration, she gave a slight smirk, a mix of confidence and defiance. "Understood, sir," she replied. "But the law isn't something you can twist." Maxwell Carter froze, his hands midair on the desk, his face turning beet red as if about to explode. "You dare lecture me about the law in my own courtroom, you Trump Gen Z brat?" he roared, his voice dripping with scorn as he pointed a trembling finger at her. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. A man in the back muttered to his neighbor, "She's got guts," while a few spectators snickered, but Leavitt didn't care. She stepped forward, raising her stack of documents, her voice clear and cutting. "I'm not here to lecture you, Your Honor. I'm here to testify to the truth, something you seem unwilling to hear." By the judge's rage, Maxwell Carter slammed his gavel hard, the bang drowning out all other noise. "Silence," he shouted, eyes blazing. "You're not a lawyer, not a court official, just some empty Trump mouthpiece. What makes you think you have a say here?" Leavitt didn't flinch. She locked eyes with him, her voice calm but powerful. "I have a say when justice is at stake, sir. This case involves the Faith and Family Foundation, a charity our administration supports. I have evidence of their financial transparency, and you need to see it." Carter smirked mockingly, leaning back in his chair as if he'd heard a bad joke. "Evidence? Charity?" he jeered, voice shrill. "I know this game. Rich conservatives hiding money behind faith and family. Don't waste my time with fairy tales, Miss Leavitt." "And I'd seen the truth," unleashed. She opened her documents, flipping to the first page, and read aloud. March 15, 2024. The Faith and Family Foundation met with donors in Manchester, New Hampshire. Every contribution was clearly recorded publicly. Maxwell. Carter cut her off instantly, slamming the gavel again. "Enough!" he yelled, face flushed. "I don't need to hear that nonsense. This is a courtroom, not a White House press briefing." But Leavitt didn't stop. She lifted her head, eyes sharp as knives, and continued. "Including independent audit records proving no fraud. Do you want to see them, or are you afraid the truth will embarrass you?" The courtroom went dead silent. The young clerk near the desk shrank in her seat, as if fearing collateral damage. Maxwell Carter gritted his teeth, gripping the gavel so tight his knuckles turned white. "You're crossing the line, Leavitt," he snarled, voice trembling with rage. "One more word, and I'll hold you in contempt right now." Leavitt gave a slight shrug, a small but defiant gesture. "If you want to jail me for telling the truth, go ahead, but I won't stay silent while you try to bury justice." The judge's downfall. Maxwell Carter shot up from his chair, pointing straight at her, breathing heavily. "Justice? You dare talk to me about justice? A Trump puppet, a little girl who knows nothing about the law, standing here lecturing me?" He banged the gavel repeatedly, the sound echoing through the room, but his eyes flickered with unease as they darted to the documents in Leavitt's hands. She smiled faintly and replied, "I don't need to lecture you, Your Honor. Your actions speak for themselves." The defense attorney, a young woman standing beside Leavitt, spoke up. "Your Honor, we just want to establish context. These documents were properly filed during discovery." Maxwell Carter cut her off, his voice booming like thunder. "Context? I don't need context. This is a financial fraud case, not a charity event. Shut up, or you'll be held in contempt too." He slammed the gavel again, but this time the sound was weaker, as if his control was slipping away. Leavitt took another step forward, her voice cutting through the gavel's echo. "If you don't want to hear about faith and family, then let's talk about the Liberty Fund. Does that name ring a bell, Your Honor?" Auditioned the final blow. Maxwell Carter froze, his hand mid-air with the gavel, his face turning from red to pale in an instant. His eyes blinked rapidly as if she'd hit a nerve. "What did you say?" he asked, voice dropping to a near whisper. Leavitt tilted her head, locking eyes with him sharply. "The Liberty Fund," she repeated slowly, each word pinning the air. "Oh, you know, the group that funneled money into your offshore account, oddly timed with rulings against conservative defendants." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. A man in the back let out a shocked, "Oh!" while others raised their phones to record. Maxwell Carter slammed the gavel harder than ever, nearly snapping its handle. "Silence! Silence now!" he screamed, voice cracking, hands shaking. "You have no right to make baseless accusations in my courtroom." But the panic in his eyes was unmistakable. Sweat rolled down his forehead, his breathing ragged like he was suffocating. Leavitt didn't back down. She held up a sheet of paper, her voice calm but razor-sharp. "Baseless? This is a bank statement with your signature, Your Honor. March 16th, 2024, one day after the Liberty Fund meeting, $100,000 shows up in your Cayman account. How do you explain that?" The judge's collapse. Maxwell Carter blinked rapidly, clumsily running a hand through his disheveled hair, eyes darting like he was searching for an escape. That's fabricated," he stammered, voice quivering. "You dare slander?" "Me? I'll make you pay for this." "The question is," Leavitt replied, voice icy, "do you dare deny it?" She flipped another page, reading aloud. "April 20th. Another $50,000 from the same source. Want me to keep going?" Maxwell Carter didn't answer right away. He sank back into his chair, gripping the desk's edge, staring at the paper from afar like it was a death sentence. He took a deep breath, trying to regain composure, but his voice still faltered as he shouted, "You have no proof. This is a Trump circus to ruin me." He pointed at Leavitt, hand trembling. "You'll regret crossing me, little girl." But Leavitt just gave a cold smile, her eyes never leaving him. "Regret? No, Your Honor, I'm just getting started." The arrest. Judge Maxwell Carter slumped back into his chair, gripping the desk's edge, his wild eyes fixed on Karoline Leavitt as she challenged, "Do you dare deny it?" Her words were a razor-sharp blade, slicing through his already crumbling authority. The courtroom went silent for a moment, only Carter's heavy breathing cutting through the stifling air. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself, then shot up, pointing at Leavitt with a shaking finger. "Deny. I don't need to deny anything," he roared, voice breaking with rage. "That's all lies. Where'd you get that trash paper? I'll sue you for defamation." Leavitt didn't budge, her gaze locked on Carter, unflinching. "Defamation," she countered, voice calm but cutting. "This isn't just talk, Your Honor. This is evidence, bank statements, your signature, and emails too." She flipped another page in her stack, reading, "Aloud, June 12, 2024. Email from you to a Liberty Fund rep. Thanks for the timely support. Faith and family will be handled as planned." How do you explain that? The courtroom erupts. The courtroom exploded in whispers. A woman in the back gasped, "Oh my God, is that real?" While others raised their phones, flashes popping. Non-stop, Maxwell Carter slammed his gavel hard, the bang failing to drown out the noise. "Silence!" he yelled, face purple with rage. "It's forged! I never sent any email. This is a Trump plot to destroy me." He turned to the clerk, snarling, "Record this now. She's making up stories in my courtroom." The clerk, the young woman at the desk, kept her head down, hands trembling over her papers, too scared to look up. Leavitt smirked coldly, holding up another sheet. "Forged? Then why does this email come from your official address, Your Honor? And why does it match a $75,000 deposit to your Cayman account that same day?" She tilted her head, eyes like daggers. "Want me to read more, or will you explain it yourself?" The final stand. Maxwell Carter staggered, clutching his chair for balance. "You have no right," he screamed, voice shrill. "This is my courtroom, and I won't let a political puppet turn it into a circus." He banged the gavel repeatedly, each strike betraying his growing panic. "I forbid you to say another word, Leavitt. One more, and I'll have you dragged out." And done. But his voice had lost its certainty, replaced by blatant fear, as his eyes flicked to the documents in her hands. She stepped closer, her voice ringing through the room. "Forbid me. You don't have the power to forbid the truth, Your Honor. Let me tell you about the Thompson case from last month." She flipped another page, reading aloud. "A small business owner lost everything because you refused to review his charity evidence, just like this case. 2 days later, your account got an $80,000 boost from the Liberty Fund. Quite a coincidence, huh? Justice prevails." The courtroom erupted in chatter. A man yelled, "Corruption, plain as day," as phones kept recording relentlessly. Maxwell Carter shouted over the noise, "Enough! I'm a federal judge, not some crook for you to slander." He turned to the court staff nearby. "Get her out of here now, that's an order." But the staff exchanged hesitant glances, none moving. One suddenly shook his head, as if he'd lost faith in Carter. Carter spun back, face pale, pointing at Leavitt. "You think you're clever, don't you? You and Trump will pay for crossing me." Leavitt didn't retreat. She held up another sheet, voice icy. "Clever? No, Your Honor. I just have the truth. Here's a bank statement from May 2024, the Wilson case. You sealed all the records right after meeting the Liberty Fund, and the next day, $150,000 showed up in your account. What do you call that? A job bonus." The FBI steps in. Courtroom buzzed again. A woman shouted, "Arrest him!" as flashes from the audience lit up Carter's panicked face. Carter pounded the desk with both hands instead of the gavel, screaming, "You have no proof. It's all fake. I'll sue you. Sue Trump, sue your whole conservative mob." But sweat poured down his forehead, his breathing ragged like he was choking. He turned to the defense attorney, who'd been silent until now. "Stop her. She can't do this." The attorney, a young woman, stood, voice shaky. "Your Honor, these documents were properly filed during discovery. You can't stop her." Carter glared at Leavitt, eyes wild. "What do you want, huh? To ruin me?" He slammed the desk again, voice cracking. "You don't know who you're messing with, little girl." But Leavitt just smiled coldly, her voice ringing like a verdict. "No, Your Honor, you don't know who you're messing with. I have enough evidence to show the world who you are, a corrupt sellout of justice." She raised the stack of documents, high, voice firm. "This isn't just about faith and family. It's a string of cases you've twisted for Liberty Fund money. Want me to keep reading, or will you confess now?" The arrest. Maxwell Carter didn't respond. He gasped for air, wiping his face, eyes darting like he was searching for an exit. The audience held its breath, phones recording non-stop, the tension rising to a suffocating peak. Then the main door swung open. An FBI team marched in, led by a tall agent with a badge glinting under the lights. Judge Maxwell Carter. "The agent declared, voice booming. "We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of corruption, abuse of power, and destruction of evidence." The courtroom erupted again, thunderous applause mixing with excited shouts. Carter spun around, face pale, screaming, "You can't do this! I have immunity! I have connections!" But the agent ignored him, signaling two others to approach. Their handcuffs gleaming, Carter thrashed, trying to bolt for the back door again, but two court officers blocked his escape. "You're not going anywhere," one said, voice firm. The lead FBI agent stepped forward, gripping Carter's arm. "We know exactly who you are, Your Honor," the agent said, voice low. "We also know about the Liberty Fund, your offshore accounts, and what you did with the Faith and Family Foundation. It ends today." The cold handcuffs snapped around Carter's wrists with a sharp click, and he stopped struggling, head bowed, like a man who'd lost everything. The aftermath. The audience exploded. A group stood and clapped while others shouted, "Justice prevailed!" A man raised his phone, yelling, "Record this! Let the world see!" The clerk, still crying, turned to the agent, trembling as she said, "I'll tell you everything. He forced me to do it all." The agent nodded, motioning for another to take her statement. Leavitt stepped back, arms crossed, her eyes locked on Carter as he was led down the aisle. He looked up one last time, glaring at her with hatred. "Think you've won, little girl," he whispered, voice shaky. "There'll always be someone to replace me." Leavitt tilted her head, replying with unwavering confidence, "No, Your Honor, justice won, and you lost because of yourself." Carter said nothing more, head dropping as the agents escorted him out. The bigger picture. The story of Karoline Leavitt facing off against Judge Maxwell Carter mirrors a grim reality in the US today. Corruption in the justice system and political polarization eroding public trust. Carter, a federal judge, took Liberty Fund money to twist justice, from the Faith and Family Foundation to the Thompson case. A poster child for power-abusing officials, he represents a familiar issue in 2025 America, where political scandals dominate headlines. Leavitt, a young press secretary, used hard evidence, bank statements, emails and security footage, to take him down, showing the power of truth in bold hands. Her use of social media to amplify her message highlights its role in holding power accountable today. The takeaway. Carter's fall, from desperately shredding papers to being cuffed by the FBI, reminds us no one is untouchable. The lesson: in modern American life, you can spark change by standing up with evidence and your voice, just like Leavitt did. When Carter called her a hollow Gen Z brat, she didn't fear the powerful. She gathered facts, exposed the truth, and rallied support. Her actions didn't just save faith and family, they launched a broader probe, proving one determined person can shake a system. In today's America, where justice often blurs, take a page from Leavitt. Truth is the strongest weapon, and you're never alone fighting for it. If you want to keep following this battle to expose corruption and defend justice, hit subscribe now. Thanks for joining me to take down Maxwell Carter, and see you in the next video as we hunt down more like him.